Sup? Dope. Bank of America is ass. I used to have Bank of America and I was Navy Federal.
I used to work.
Really, I don't really trust the banking system in America. You know, that's just me. You know, some of my money is in the bank, and then some of my money is hard cash.
Bank several years ago. I was a bank teller and would work behind the counter and help customers. The bank was old and I would say average sized. It was near a shopping center and not right in the city or anything like that. I held this job for roughly a year before moving on. Overall, it was kind of boring, but one day was anything but boring. It was a pretty typical weekday, and like most days, we weren't too busy. It was about 10 a.m., and I was the only one behind the counter when a man walked in. There were no other customers inside at the moment, so I noticed right away. The man had very short dark hair and seemed to be on the shorter side. He walked directly up to the counter. He was wearing a gray hoodie, and as he got up to the counter, he put his hand into his pocket. I could see there was something inside of it, and the man pointed to it and told me that he had a gun and this was a robbery. I was shocked at first. I had always heard stories of bank robberies, but even working as a bank teller, I never really worried about it or thought that it would happen to me. The man asked me for $10,000 in cash. I turned around to get the money. I turned back around to ask the man what kind of bills he wanted it in, but when I looked, I didn't see him. I walked back to the end of the counter, and he was nowhere to be seen. I was shaking from the confrontation, and my heart was pounding. I was now extremely confused. I walked back behind the counter and found Tom, who was my boss. I told him what had happened. He came out from his office and looked around the whole bank. The man was not there at all. The bank got temporarily closed down, and the police were called to search. They were all around the property for a while, but they didn't find the man. I started to feel dumb about it.
Can't you just run back the cameras? Banks have hella cameras. Just run back to the cameras. What you talking about?
But I knew it wasn't my imagination. We went to check the security camera footage after that.
Thank you.
And found that in the exact time where the man walked in, it cut out for some reason. It was extremely confusing to us all. I took a few days off after that. I didn't work there much longer, and I still wonder about it to this day what happened.
Don't worry about that. Just know that you don't work there no more. That's not your problem.
This story happened years ago when I was in college. I was planning on buying a used car and had saved up some money. I went to the bank to withdraw $7,000 in cash to potentially make a purchase of a car I had been looking at. There was a car at a nearby used car dealership, and I was really interested. I got to the bank on my way home from work and made it just before they closed. They were really quiet, most likely because of the time, and I was able to get the money with a couple of minutes to spare. As soon as I turned around to leave the bank, I saw a guy sitting down looking at me. He was in a chair kind of near the entrance. I left the bank, and after I did, I noticed that the man left as well. I began walking to my car, and I heard the man start to walk towards me.
Okay.
I looked behind me, but he had now changed directions and was walking to his car. I got inside mine and drove home. I lived pretty close to the bank, so I didn't even notice until I had turned onto the quiet road just before my street that the truck the man had got.
These people are so ass. These people are so clucked. You go to the bank, withdraw thousands of dollars, and then you leave the bank. Somebody's following you, or somebody's kind of close to you. You turn back, but now they're going to the opposite direction, and then you go home. I'm not going home. I'm not going straight home. I'm not doing it.
The man was behind me. I noticed it even more when it turned onto my quiet road after me. Then, when I got to the driveway of my parents' house, I saw the truck turn in with me. Now I was really confused. What could this guy possibly want with me? I stayed in my car and waited to see if the guy would turn around or something like that. Instead, he drove up and parked extremely close to my back bumper, and then just stayed there. After about 30 seconds or so, I watched the man get out of his car and start to approach mine. He walked quickly and got right up to my front driver's window. He then signaled for me to roll my window down. I started to roll it down, but as I did, the man tried to open my door. He then reached inside my window as it got lowered enough and got a hold of my shoulder, then started to find where the door unlocked. I didn't know what else to do, so I put the car into drive and drove forward a few feet before backing up and turning the car around. I basically dragged the man with me as I did, and we struggled for a bit, but he finally...
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! On!
let go as I sped up, and I ended up driving away down the street. I quickly called my parents, who were at home at the time, and told them. Then I called the police. The man ran back to his truck and got inside of it. I drove as fast as I could out of the street and in the neighborhood surrounding us so he couldn't find me. When I was told that the police had arrived at our house, I drove back home. By that time, the man and his truck were long gone, and there was nothing really left behind. Unfortunately, I didn't get his license plate, but I was able to give the police a pretty decent description of the guy and his car. Thankfully, I was fine, and the man didn't come back. I think when the man saw me walk out of the bank with all that cash, he wanted to try to rob me.
You think?
Thankfully, he wasn't able to.
You think? I would have kept driving with his arm, still in the window. Huh?
Roughly 10 years ago, when I was in high school, I had just gotten my first job and went to the bank with my mother to open up a bank account.
That's a nice-ass bank.
We went one day after school and met with someone who worked at the bank. We sat at a table with them, and they helped us open the account and explain stuff to us. I didn't understand a whole lot, but I knew that my mom was also going to have access to my account, so she was asking them a lot of questions and things like that. When we were all talking about this, I looked around the bank and noticed a man walk inside and then go to the sidewall and just kind of stand there. I was trying to pay attention to my mom and the bank worker, but their conversation was really boring for me as I was a 15-year-old kid. For some reason, I don't know why, my eyes kept wandering all over the bank, and I kept looking at the man who was just standing there. I made eye contact with him a few times. I didn't really know what he was doing, but I also didn't really care. Finally, after probably 30 minutes, my account was opened and my mother and I said goodbye to the woman who had helped us. Then we left. Later that night, back at home, as I was finishing my homework in the living room, my parents were watching a show on TV and I was sort of half paying attention to it. When the show ended, the local news came on. A couple of minutes into it, they said that a bank had been robbed earlier. When we saw it, it was the same bank that my mother and I had been to. I heard my mother say, "Wow." Then I heard that the man had robbed the bank of over $15,000 and had gotten away. They showed his picture from the security camera footage of the bank, and I could see that it was the same guy I saw in the bank. He had robbed the bank only minutes after my mother and I had left. I talked with my parents for a while about it, and the next day we heard that the man was actually caught.
Okay. I don't know if that was nice of him, very considerate of him to wait until y'all left to rob it, or why did he wait for y'all? Is it because it was like a mom and her boy? I don't understand why he waited, but that was nice of him, I guess. But what about all them other people that was in the bank?
It's really scary to think how we just narrowly avoided him.
See, if I was to ever do something, I think I would be a nice bad guy. I don't know. Like if I was to rob like a grocery store, I would wait until all the customers left. 'Cause customers, you got families and couples and married people, and you got kids, all kinds of peoples in a grocery store. I'm gonna just wait until they leave, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do my thing. Or I think I would be a nice bad guy. I would go down in history. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and I love you. Stay happy. My family.